the delightful discourse. Kinh Thanh tịnh. Digha Nikaya, the long discourses, the delightful discourse. Pàsàdika Sutta, thus have I heard. Once the Lord was staying among the Sakyans at the school building in the mango grove belonging to the Vaidanya family. At that time the Nagantha Nataputta had just died at Pava, and at his death, the Naganthas were split into two parties, quarreling and disputing, fighting and attacking each other with wordy warfare. You don't understand this doctrine and discipline. I do. How could you understand this doctrine and discipline? Your way is all wrong, mine is right. I am consistent. You aren't. You said last what you should have said first, and you said first what you should have said last. What you took so long to think up has been refuted. Your argument has been overthrown. You're defeated. Go. So they went to the Lord and told him. He said, Kunda, here is a doctrine and discipline that is ill-proclaimed, unedifyingly displayed and ineffectual in calming the passions because its proclaimer was not fully enlightened. Such being the case, Kunda, a disciple cannot live according to that doctrine and maintain proper conduct, nor live by it, but deviates from it. To him one might say, Friend, this is what you have received, 902, and you have your opportunity. Your teacher is not fully enlightened. You cannot live according to that doctrine, but deviate from it. In this case, Kunda, the teacher is to blame, the doctrine is to blame, but the pupil is praiseworthy. And if anyone were to say to that pupil, Come now, reverend sir, and practice according to the doctrine proclaimed and given out by your teacher, then the one who urged this, the thing urged, and the one who so practiced would all gain much demerit. Why? Because the doctrine is ill-proclaimed. But here, Kunda, is a teacher who is not fully enlightened, and a disciple lives according to that doctrine, and conforms to it. One might say to him, Friend, what you have received is no good. Your opportunity is a poor one. Your teacher is not fully enlightened. His teaching is ill-proclaimed. But yet you continue to live according to it. In this case the teacher, the doctrine, and the disciple are all to blame. And if anyone were to say, Well, reverend sir, by following that system you will be successful, the one who so recommended it, that which was recommended, and the one who, on hearing such recommendation, should make still greater efforts, would all gain much demerit. Why? Because the doctrine is ill-proclaimed. But here now is a teacher who is fully enlightened. His doctrine is well proclaimed, edifyingly displayed, effectual in calming the passions because of that enlightened teacher, but the disciple does not live up to the doctrine, but deviates from it. In that case one might say to him, Friend, you have failed, you have missed your opportunity. Your teacher is fully enlightened, his doctrine is well proclaimed. But you do not follow it, you deviate from it. In this case the teacher and the doctrine are praiseworthy, but the pupil is to blame. And if anyone were to say, Well, reverend sir, you should follow the teaching proclaimed by your teacher, then the one who urged this, that which was urged, and the one who so practiced would all gain much merit. Why? Because the doctrine is well proclaimed. But now, Kunda, here is a teacher who is fully enlightened, his doctrine is well proclaimed, and the disciple, having taken it up, follows it, practicing it properly, and keeping to it. Someone might say to him, Friend, what you have received is good. Here is your opportunity, and you are following the doctrine of your teacher. In this case the teacher and the doctrine are praiseworthy, and the pupil is also praiseworthy. And if anyone were to say to such a disciple, Well, reverend sir, by following that system you will be successful, then the one who thus commended it, and that which was commended, and the one who, on hearing such commendation, should make still greater efforts, would all gain much merit. Why? Because that is so when the doctrine and discipline are well proclaimed, edifyingly displayed and effectual in calming the passions because of the fully enlightened teacher and supreme Buddha. But now, Kunda, suppose a teacher has arisen in the world, an arahant, fully enlightened Buddha, and his doctrine is well proclaimed, effectual in calming the passions because of that teacher. But his disciples have not fully mastered that true Dhamma, the full purity of the holy life has not become clear and evident to them in the logic of its unfolding, and has not been sufficiently grounded among them, being still in course of being well proclaimed among humans at the time of the teacher's passing from among them. That way, Kunda, the teacher's death would be a sad thing for his disciples. Why? They would think, our teacher arose in the world for us, an arahant, fully enlightened Buddha, whose doctrine was well proclaimed. But we did not fully master the true Dhamma as long as it was well proclaimed among humans, and now our teacher has passed away from among us. That way, the teacher's death would be a sad thing for his disciples. But suppose a teacher has arisen in the world, and his disciples have fully mastered the true Dhamma, the full purity of the holy life has become clear and evident to them in the logic of its unfolding, and has been sufficiently grounded among them while being thus well proclaimed among humans by the time of the teacher's passing from them. That way, the teacher's death would not be a sad thing for his disciples. Why? They would think, our teacher arose in the world for us and we have fully mastered the true Dhamma while it was thus proclaimed among humans, and now our teacher has passed away from among us. That way, the teacher's death would not be a sad thing for his disciples. But Kunda, if the holy life is so circumstanced, and there is no teacher who is senior, of long standing, long ordained, mature and advanced in seniority, then in such a case the holy life will be imperfect. But if such a teacher exists, then the holy life can be perfected in such a case. If in such a case there is such a senior teacher, but if there are no senior disciples among the monks, who are experienced, trained, skilled, who have attained peace from bondage, who are able to proclaim the true Dhamma, able to refute any opposing doctrines that may arise by means of the true Dhamma, and, having done so, give a grounded exposition of Dhamma, then the holy life is not perfected. In such cases, if there are such senior teachers, and such senior disciples, but there are no monks of middle standing with these qualities, or, despite the presence of these, no junior monks with these qualities, no senior disciples among the nun, no middle-ranking or junior nuns, no white-robed lay followers, male or female, celibate or otherwise, or if the teaching does not prosper and flourish, is not widespread, widely known, proclaimed far and wide, or, even if these conditions are fulfilled, has not gained the first place in public support, then the holy life is not perfected. If, however, all these conditions are fulfilled, then the holy life is perfected. But, Kunda, I have now arisen in the world as an arahant, fully enlightened Buddha, the Dhamma is well proclaimed, my disciples are proficient in the true Dhamma. The full purity of the holy life has become clear and evident to them in the logic of its unfolding. But now I am an aged teacher of long standing, who went forth a long time ago, and my life is coming to its close. However, there are senior teachers among the monks, who are experienced, trained, skilled, who have attained peace from bondage, able to proclaim the true Dhamma, able to refute by means of the Dhamma any opposing doctrines that may arise and, having done so, give a grounded exposition of Dhamma. And there are middle-ranking monks who are disciplined and experienced, there are novices who are disciples, there are senior, middle-ranking and novice nuns who are disciples, there are white-robed lay followers, male and female, celibate and non-celibate, and the holy life I proclaim prospers and flourishes, is widespread, widely known, proclaimed far and wide, well proclaimed among humans. Among all the teachers now existing in the world, Kunda, I see none who has attained to such a position of fame and following as I have. Of all the orders and groups in the world, I see none as famous and well followed as my Sangha of monks. If anyone were to refer to any holy way of life as being fully successful and perfect, with nothing lacking and nothing superfluous, well proclaimed, in the perfection of its purity, it is this holy life they would be describing. It was Uddaka Ramapada who used to say, "He sees, but does not see." What is it that, seeing, one does not see? You can see the blade of a well-sharpened razor, but not its edge. That is what he meant by saying, "He sees, but does not see." He spoke in reference to a low, vulgar, worldly ignoble thing of no spiritual significance, a mere razor. But if one were to use that expression properly, he sees, but does not see, it would be like this. What he sees is a holy way of life which is fully successful and perfect, with nothing lacking and nothing superfluous, well proclaimed in the perfection of its purity. If he were to deduct anything from it, thinking, "In this way it will be purer," he does not see it. And if he were to add anything to it, thinking, "In this way it will be more complete," then he does not see it. That is the meaning of the saying, "He sees, but does not see." Therefore, Kunda, if anyone were to refer to any holy way of life as being fully successful and perfect, it is this holy life that they would be describing. Therefore, Kunda, all you to whom I have taught these truths that I have realized by super knowledge, should come together and recite them, setting meaning beside meaning, and expression beside expression, without dissension, in order that this holy life may continue and be established for a long time for the profit and happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world and for the benefit, profit and happiness of devas and humans. And what are the things that you should recite together? They are the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 4 right efforts, the 4 roads to power, the 5 spiritual faculties, the 5 mental powers, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the Noble Eightfold Path. These are the things you should recite together. And thus you must train yourselves, being assembled in harmony and without dissension. If a fellow in the holy life quotes Dhamma in the assembly, and if you think he has either misunderstood the sense or expressed it wrongly, you should neither applaud nor reject it, but should say to him, "Friend, if you mean such and such, you should put it either like this or like that. Which is the more appropriate? Or, if you say such and such, you mean either this or that, which is the more appropriate?" If he replies, "This meaning is better expressed like this than like that," or, "The sense of this expression is this rather than that," then his words should be neither rejected nor disparaged, but you should explain to him carefully the correct meaning and expression. 19. Again, Kunda, if a fellow in the holy life quotes Dhamma in the assembly, and if you think he has misunderstood the sense though he has expressed it correctly, you should neither applaud nor reject it, but should say to him, "Friend, these words can mean either this or that. Which sense is the more appropriate?" And if he replies, "They mean this," then his words should be neither rejected nor disparaged, but you should explain to him carefully the correct meaning. And similarly, if you think he has got the right meaning but expressed it wrongly, you should explain to him carefully the correct meaning and expression. But, Kunda, if you think he has got the right meaning and expressed it correctly, you should say good and should applaud and congratulate him, saying, "We are lucky, we are most fortunate to find in you, friend, a companion in the holy life who is so well versed in both the meaning and the expression." Kunda, I do not teach you a Dhamma for restraining the corruptions that arise in the present life alone. I do not teach a Dhamma merely for their destruction in future lives, but one for their restraining in this life as well as for their destruction in future lives. Accordingly, Kunda, let the robe I have allowed you be simply for warding off the cold, for warding off the heat, for warding off the touch of gadfly, mosquito, wind, sun and creeping things. Just as to protect your modesty, let the alms food I have allowed you be just enough for the support and sustenance of the body, for keeping it unimpaired for the furtherance of the holy life, with the thought, thus I shall eliminate the former feeling without giving rise to a new one in that way. I shall live without fault and in comfort. Let the lodging I have allowed you be simply for warding off the cold, for warding off the heat, for warding off the touch of gadfly, mosquito, wind, sun and creeping things, just for allaying the perils of the seasons and for the enjoyment of seclusion. Let the provision of medicines and necessities for the treatment of sickness that I have allowed you be just for warding off feelings of sickness that have arisen, and for the maintenance of health. It may be, Kunda, that wanderers of other sects might say, the ascetics who follow the Sakyan are addicted to a life of devotion to pleasure. If so, they should be asked, what kind of a life of devotion to pleasure, friend? For such a life can take many different forms. There are, Kunda, 4 kinds of life devoted to pleasure which are low, vulgar, worldly, ignoble and not conducive to welfare, not leading to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to tranquility, to realization, to enlightenment, to nibbana. What are they? Firstly, a foolish person takes pleasure and delight in killing living beings. Secondly, someone takes pleasure and delight in taking that which is not given. Thirdly, someone takes pleasure and delight in telling lies. Fourthly, someone gives himself up to the indulgence in and enjoyment of the pleasures of the 5 senses. These are the 4 kinds of life devoted to pleasure which are low, vulgar, not leading to disenchantment, to enlightenment, to nibbana. And it may be that those of other sects might say, are the followers of the Sakyan given to these 4 forms of pleasure-seeking? They should be told, no, for they would not be speaking correctly about you, they would be slandering you with false and untrue statements. There are, Kunda, these 4 kinds of life devoted to pleasure which are entirely conducive to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to tranquility, to realization, to enlightenment, to nibbana. What are they? Firstly, a monk, detached from all sense desires, detached from unwholesome mental states, enters and remains in the first jhana, which is with thinking and pondering, born of detachment, filled with delight and happiness. And with the subsiding of thinking and pondering, by gaining inner tranquility and oneness of mind, he enters and remains in the second jhana, which is without thinking and pondering, born of concentration, filled with delight and happiness. Again, with the fading of delight, remaining imperturbable, mindful and clearly aware, he experiences in himself that joy of which the noble ones say, happy is he who dwells with equanimity and mindfulness. He enters and remains in the third jhana. Again, having given up pleasure and pain, and with the disappearance of former gladness and sadness, he enters and remains in the fourth jhana, which is beyond pleasure and pain, and purified by equanimity and mindfulness. These are the 4 kinds of life devoted to pleasure which are entirely conducive to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to tranquility, to realization, to enlightenment, to nibbana. So if wanderers from other sects should say that the followers of the Sakyan are addicted to these 4 forms of pleasure-seeking, they should be told, yes. For they would be speaking correctly about you, they would not be slandering you with false or untrue statements. Then such wanderers might ask, well then, those who are given to these 4 forms of pleasure-seeking, How many fruits, how many benefits can they expect? And you should reply, they can expect 4 fruits, 4 benefits. What are they? The first is when a monk by the destruction of 3 fetters has become a stream winner, no more subject to rebirth in lower worlds, firmly established, destined for full enlightenment. The second is when a monk by the complete destruction of 3 fetters and the reduction of greed, hatred and delusion, has become a once returner, and having returned once more to this world, will put an end to suffering. The third is when a monk, by the complete destruction of the 5 lower fetters, has been spontaneously reborn, and there will reach Nibbana without returning from that world. The fourth is when a monk, by the destruction of the corruptions in this very life has, by his own knowledge and realization, attained to arahantship, to the deliverance of heart and through wisdom. Such are the 4 fruits and the 4 benefits that one given to these 4 forms of pleasure-seeking can expect. Then such wanderers might say, the doctrines of the Sakyans' followers are not well-founded. They should be told, friend, the Lord who knows and sees has taught and proclaimed to his disciples principles which are not to be transgressed, as long as life shall last. Just like a locking post or an iron post which is deep-based, well-planted and unshakable, immovable are these doctrines he has taught, and any monk who is an arahant, whose corruptions are destroyed, who has lived the life, done what was to be done, laid down the burden, gained the true goal, who has completely destroyed the fetter of becoming, and is liberated by supreme insight, is incapable of doing 9 things. He is incapable of deliberately taking the life of a living being. He is incapable of taking what is not given so as to constitute theft. He is incapable of sexual intercourse. He is incapable of telling a deliberate lie. He is incapable of storing up goods for sensual indulgence as he did formerly in the household life. He is incapable of acting wrongly through attachment. He is incapable of acting wrongly through hatred. He is incapable of acting wrongly through folly. He is incapable of acting wrongly through fear. These are the 9 things which an arahant, whose corruptions are destroyed, cannot do. Or such wanderers might say, as regards past times, the ascetic Gautama displays boundless knowledge and insight, but not about the future. As to what it will be and how it will be, that would be to suppose that knowledge and insight about one thing are to be produced by knowledge and insight about something else, as fools imagine. As regards the past, the Tathagata has knowledge of past lives. He can remember as far back as he wishes. As for the future, this knowledge, born of enlightenment, arises in him. This is the last birth, there will be no more becoming. If the past refers to what is not factual, to fables, to what is not of advantage, the Tathagata makes no reply. If it refers to what is factual, not fabulous, but which is not of advantage, the Tathagata makes no reply. But if the past refers to what is factual, not fabulous, and which is of advantage, then the Tathagata knows the right time to reply. The same applies to the future and the present. Therefore, Kunda, the Tathagata is called the one who declares the time, the fact, the advantage, the Dhamma and the discipline. That is why he is called Tathagata. Kunda, whatever in this world with its devas and maras and brahmas, with its ascetics and brahmins, its princes and people, is seen by people, heard, sensed, cognized, whatever was ever achieved, sought after, are mentally pondered upon all that has been fully understood by the Tathagata. That is why he is called Tathagata. Between the night in which the Tathagata gains supreme enlightenment, Kunda, and the night in which he attains the Nibbana element without remainder, whatever he proclaims, says or explains is so, and not otherwise. That is why he is called Tathagata. And of this world with its devas and maras and brahmas, with its ascetics and brahmins, its princes and people, The Tathagata is the unvanquished conqueror, the seer and ruler of all. That is why he is called Tathagata. Or such wanderers might say, does the Tathagata exist after death? Is that true, and any other view foolish? They should be told, friend, this has not been revealed by the Lord. Does the Tathagata not exist after death? Does he both exist and not exist after death? Does he neither exist nor not exist after death? They should be told, friend, this has not been revealed by the Lord. Then they may say, why has the ascetic Gautama not revealed this? They should be told, friend, this is not conducive to welfare, or to the Dhamma, or to the higher holy life, or to disenchantment, dispassion, cessation, tranquility, realization, enlightenment, nibbana. That is why the Lord has not revealed it. Or they may say, well, friend, what has the ascetic Gautama revealed? They should be told, this is suffering has been declared by the Lord, this is the arising of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the path leading to the cessation of suffering has been declared by the Lord. Then they may say, why has this been declared? By the ascetic Gautama? They should be told, friend, this is conducive to welfare, to Dhamma, to the higher holy life, to perfect disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to tranquility, to realization, to enlightenment, to nibbana. That is why the Lord has revealed it. Kunda, those bases of speculation about the beginnings of things which I have explained to you as they should be explained, should I now explain to you as they should not be explained? And likewise about the future? What are the speculations about the past? There are ascetics and Brahmins who say and believe, the self and the world are eternal. This is true and any other view is erroneous. The self and the world are not eternal. The self and the world are both eternal and not eternal. The self and the world are neither eternal nor not eternal. The self and the world are self-created. They are created by another. They are both self-created and created by another. They are neither self-created nor created by another, but have arisen by chance. And similarly with regard to pleasure and pain. Now, Kunda, I go to those ascetics and Brahmins who hold any of these views, and if, being asked, they confirm that they do hold such views, I do not admit their claims. Why not? Because, Kunda, different beings hold different opinions on such matters. Nor do I consider such theories equal to my own, still less superior. I am their superior in regard to the higher exposition. As for those bases of speculation about the beginning of things which I have explained to you as they should be explained, why should I now explain them to you as they should not be explained? And what about those speculators about the future? There are some ascetics and Brahmins who say, the self after death is material and healthy, immaterial, both, neither. The self is conscious after death, unconscious, both, neither. The self perishes, is destroyed, ceases to be after death. This is true and any other view is erroneous. Now, Kunda, I go to those ascetics and Brahmins who hold any of these views, and if, being asked, they confirm that they do hold such views, I do not admit their claims. Why not? Because, Kunda, different beings hold different opinions on such matters. Nor do I consider such theories equal to my own, still less superior. I am their superior in regard to the higher exposition. As for those bases of speculation about the future, which I have explained to you as they should be explained, why should I now explain them to you as they should not be explained? And, Kunda, for the destruction of all such views about the past and the future, for transcending them, I have taught and laid down the 4 foundations of mindfulness. What are the 4? Here, Kunda, a monk dwells contemplating body as body, ardent, clearly aware and mindful, having put aside hankering and fretting for the world. He dwells contemplating feelings as feelings, mind as mind. He dwells contemplating mind objects as mind objects, ardent, clearly aware and mindful, having put aside hankering and fretting for the world. That is how, Kunda, for the destruction of such views about the past and the future, and for transcending them, I have taught and laid down the 4 foundations of mindfulness. During this time the Venerable Upavana was standing behind the Lord, fanning him. And he said, "It is wonderful, Lord, it is marvelous. Lord, this exposition of Dhamma is delightful, highly delightful. Lord, what is the name of this discourse?" Well, Upavana, you can remember it as the delightful discourse. Thus the Lord spoke, and the Venerable Upavana rejoiced and was delighted with his words.